The soft hum of the crowd beyond the curtain sounded like a sea of distant thunder. Every cheer, every laugh, every restless shuffle made 12-year-old Lila Carter's stomach twist a little tighter. She stood backstage at America's Got Talent, her tiny hands gripping the silver microphone charm hanging around her neck. It was warm from her touch, smooth and familiar her good luck charm. It had once belonged to her grandmother, a woman who believed that music was the language of the soul. Lila whispered under her breath, "For you, Grandma." Her mother, a kind-eyed woman in her 30s, knelt beside her, adjusting a loose strand of Lila's dark curls and brushing imaginary dust off her sequin dress. "You ready, sweetheart?" she asked softly. Her voice carried both excitement and concern. Lila's lips trembled. "What if I mess up, Mom? What if Simon doesn't like me?" Her mother smiled gently and took her hands. "Honey, Simon Cowell doesn't scare people who sing from the heart. Remember what Grandma used to say?" Lila nodded slowly, reciting the words like a prayer. "When you sing, let the world hear your soul." "Exactly." Her mom pressed a kiss to her forehead. "You've got the soul of a lion, baby. Just sing like Grandma's listening from the front row." Those words almost made her smile. Almost. The stage manager, a tall man in a black headset, motioned toward her. "You're up next, Lila. Stand by." Her knees wobbled. She peeked around the curtain and saw flashes of golden light, the grand AGT logo glittering across the stage floor. The judge's desk shimmered under the bright lights. There was Simon Cowell, the man whose approval could change everything. His expression was unreadable, his pen tapping rhythmically against his notes. Next to him sat Sofia Vergara, radiant and smiling, beside Howie Mandel and Heidi Klum, both chatting between acts. The sight was surreal. Lila had watched America's Got Talent for years on TV, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor beside her grandma. They'd laughed, cried, and dreamed together. Her grandmother used to say, "One day, I'll see you there, singing your heart out." But Grandma never got the chance. The memory of her hospital room flashed in Lila's mind, the beeping machines, the soft, tired smile on her grandmother's face as she handed her the little charm. "Promise me you'll keep singing, baby. Even when I'm not there to clap for you." A lump formed in Lila's throat. She clutched the necklace tighter. "I promise," she whispered. "Lila Carter," the stagehand announced. "You're on in 10 seconds. Her mom gave her shoulders a gentle squeeze. "You're not alone up there," she whispered. "You've got your music, and you've got your heart. That's all you need." The next thing Lila knew, the curtain parted. The bright white light of the stage hit her like a sunrise. The audience looked, endless faces upon faces, lights twinkling like stars. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought the microphone might pick it up. She took her first trembling step forward. "Hello." Sophia greeted, her warm accent carrying across the theater. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Hi," Lila stammered. "My name's Lila Carter. I'm 12 years old." "How adorable," Heidi said with a wide smile. "What are you going to sing for us today?" Lila smiled nervously, her voice just barely steady. "I'm going to sing You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman by Aretha Franklin." There was a small murmur from the audience, surprise, admiration, maybe even doubt. A 12-year-old singing Aretha Franklin? That was bold. Simon raised an eyebrow, folding his hands. "That's quite a song choice," he said, his tone measured but curious. "Are you sure you can handle that?" Lila swallowed hard. "It's my grandma's favorite song. She taught me to sing it." Something in Simon's expression softened just slightly. He gave a nod. "All right then, Lila. Let's hear it." The music began. A slow, soulful piano melody filled the air. The audience leaned in, expectant. Lila took a deep breath and sang her first note. It was soft, a little shaky, but tender. Her voice carried a fragile sweetness, like porcelain that could shatter at any moment. She found her rhythm, easing into the familiar lyrics. Looking out on the morning rain. I used to feel so uninspired. For a few precious seconds, everything felt okay. The lights, the crowd, the pressure, it all faded. It was just her and the song. But then her mind blanked. She forgot the next line. The band played on, waiting for her cue, but panic gripped her throat like ice. Her breathing quickened. Her voice faltered. The audience shifted uncomfortably. Lila blinked rapidly, trying to pull herself together, but the moment slipped through her fingers. Simon leaned forward, his brow furrowing. A wave of humiliation rushed over her. Her mom's face in the wings blurred through her tears. "Oh, no," Lila whispered, barely audible. And then Simon raised his hand. The music stopped abruptly. The audience gasped. The silence was deafening, Lila's heart nearly stopped. "Oh no, he's going to stop me. I ruined it." Simon tilted his head slightly, studying her. His voice, though calm, carried a weight that silenced the crowd. "Lila, listen," he began. "You've got something very special in your voice. But right now, I'm not hearing you, I'm hearing a scared little girl hiding behind the music." Tears welled up in Lila's eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, trembling. "Don't be sorry," Simon said, his tone softening. "You've got a gift. But I want to hear your heart, not the track. So, let's do something brave." Lila blinked, confused. "Brave?" He nodded. "Sing it again. But this time, no music. Just you." The entire theater went silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Her mom pressed her hands to her chest backstage, whispering a silent prayer. Lila looked down at her necklace, the little silver charm glinting under the lights. She could almost hear her grandmother's voice whispering, "The heart doesn't need an instrument." She took one deep, steady breath. And as she lifted her gaze back to the crowd, something shifted inside her. The fear didn't disappear, it transformed. Into courage. Into love. Into the memory of every time her grandmother had clapped and said, "That's my little songbird." Lila nodded slowly. "Okay," she said, her voice soft but sure. Simon leaned back, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "That's it. Let's hear the real Lila." The silence deepened. The lights dimmed slightly. The entire audience leaned forward. And there she stood, 12 years old, trembling but unbroken, ready to let the world hear her soul. For a long, suspended moment, the stage felt like it was holding its breath. Thousands of people sat in silence, waiting to see what a 12-year-old girl would do with Simon Cowell's unexpected challenge. The orchestra's instruments were quiet now, the familiar safety of the music stripped away. Only the sound of the air conditioning hummed faintly through the massive auditorium. Lila's fingers brushed over the silver microphone charm, once more her anchor, her courage. She swallowed the lump in her throat and lifted her eyes to the crowd. They seemed so far away, but she could feel their energy pressing in around her, curiosity, empathy, disbelief. Simon's expression wasn't cruel, it was intent. He looked at her not as a critic, but as someone searching for something true. "Take your time," he said gently, leaning back in his chair. "When you're ready." Lila nodded slightly, though her voice trembled inside her chest. She closed her eyes. And, in the darkness behind her eyelids, she imagined her grandmother sitting in their small living room, the scent of lavender and coffee in the air, the old record player crackling to life. She could hear Aretha Franklin's voice pouring through the static, smooth and powerful. Her grandmother would sing along, her voice old but rich, teaching Lila how to feel every word. "Don't just sing the notes, baby," Grandma had said. "Sing the meaning. Let every word come from somewhere real." Lila took a deep breath, her tiny shoulders rising as she held on to that memory. Then, she began. At first, her voice was fragile, almost like glass. Looking out on the morning rain. It trembled, hanging in the air, vulnerable and bare. But with each syllable, she grew steadier, braver. I used to feel so uninspired. The words rolled softly off her lips, and something changed in the room. The crowd, once restless, quieted completely. Even the cameramen stopped, moving, their lenses fixed on her. The sound wasn't perfect, but it was real. There was no microphone, echo, no piano to hide behind, just a 1-2-year-old girl and her truth. When she reached the second line, her voice deepened. Her hand unclenched at her side. She began to sing not from her throat, but from the place that hurt and healed and dreamed her soul. And when I knew I had to face another day, Lord, it made me feel so tired. Simon's lips parted slightly. This wasn't the same nervous child who had stumbled moments ago. This was someone transformed. Her mother stood frozen backstage, tears welling in her eyes. She had seen Lila sing in their small church, in school talent shows, in their living room when no one was watching, but never like this. This was the voice of a girl carrying her grandmother's love in every note. Halfway through the song, Lila opened her eyes. Her voice grew fuller, soaring now, not loud, but honest. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind. There was something miraculous about that moment. The massive stage, so intimidating, so impossible, felt suddenly intimate. Like everyone there was gathered not to judge her, but to listen. To feel. Her voice cracked slightly as emotion surged through her. But she didn't stop. That crack became part of the story. It made people lean in closer. It made her human. Simon sat back, his usually unreadable expression softening. He wasn't taking notes. He wasn't analyzing pitch or tone. He was feeling it. When Lila reached the chorus, the heart of Aretha's song, she didn't imitate, she didn't try to sound powerful. She sang it like a prayer. You make me feel. You make me feel. You make me feel like a natural woman. The final, woman, came out like a whisper breaking into tears. The kind of note that doesn't impress, it moves. And when it faded into the silence, no one clapped. Not yet. The moment was too sacred to interrupt. The quiet stretched for 3 long seconds. Then the crowd rose to their feet, one by one, like a wave. The applause thundered through the theater, filling every corner. Lila stood frozen, her eyes wide, her small hands trembling around the microphone. She blinked at the sight, thousands of people cheering, clapping, crying. Heidi Klum pressed her hands to her heart. Oh, my goodness, she murmured. That was beautiful. Sophia's eyes shimmered. Lila, you made all of us feel that song, she said, her voice catching. Howie leaned forward, smiling. You know, I think what Simon just did, it was risky, but it showed us something incredible. You didn't just sing that song, you lived it. The camera turned to Simon. For once, he wasn't hiding behind his usual smirk or folded arms. His expression was soft, reflective. Lila, he began, his voice calm but thick with emotion. When I stopped the music earlier, it wasn't because I didn't believe in you. It was because I did. Lila's eyes glistened. You've got a voice that doesn't need anything else, no band, no effects, nothing. Just you. What you just did. That was Aretha-level honesty. You sang like someone who's lived 1,000 emotions, not 12 years. A small, astonished laugh rippled through the audience. Simon leaned closer. And I'll tell you something else that takes courage. Lila blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears. She looked over at her mom in the wings, who mouthed, "That's my girl." Simon looked to his fellow judges. I think we all agree this young lady just gave us one of the most powerful auditions we've ever seen. The crowd roared again, clapping, shouting her name. Lila. 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 And then Simon glanced down at the golden buzzer in front of him. His fingers hovered over it, but he didn't press, not yet. He wanted the moment to breathe, to be felt, fully. Before I do anything, he said, smiling faintly, I want you to remember this, Lila. Don't ever hide behind the music. Your truth is your power. Tears spilled freely down her cheeks. Thank you, Mr. Simon, she whispered, her voice breaking. And for the first time since her grandmother's passing, Lila felt something inside her lift like a soft light spreading through her chest. The music hadn't saved her. Her courage had. As the applause faded and the lights dimmed for the next act, she turned to walk off stage. Her mother ran forward, wrapping her arms tightly around her. You did it, baby. You did it. Lila pressed her face into her mom's shoulder, laughing and crying at once. Grandma would have been proud. Her mother's voice shook. She was there, sweetheart. She heard every note. And for the first time, Lila believed it. The stage lights dimmed slightly, washing Lila in a warm, golden glow. The energy in the room felt different, now hushed, reverent, alive. It wasn't the kind of silence that came from judgment or doubt. It was the kind of silence that came when thousands of people collectively held their breath, afraid to break the fragile beauty of a moment that felt bigger than any one person. Simon had just asked her to sing again, this time without music. No instruments. No safety net. Just her voice. Lila's heart pounded so loudly it felt like a drumbeat in her chest. Every second stretched endlessly, the air around her thick with expectation. She could feel the weight of every camera, every spotlight, every pair of eyes watching her waiting. Her knees trembled, but she stood firm. Slowly, she closed her eyes and took a breath. A real breath this time, not the shaky, scared kind, but the kind her grandmother used to tell her to take before every song. Breathe like the world disappears, Grandma had said once. When you do that, it's just you and the music in your heart. And so, the world disappeared. When Lila opened her mouth, her voice was barely more than a whisper. Looking out on the morning rain. The words floated softly across the stage, fragile yet piercing. Every syllable shimmered with honesty. There were no instruments to hide behind, no layers to polish or correct her. It was raw, unfiltered emotion, pure and trembling like a candle flame in the dark. Her voice wavered for just a moment before finding strength. She remembered her grandmother sitting in that old floral chair, clapping along as Aretha played on the record player. That's it, baby, she'd said once. Don't sing at the song. Talk to it. Make it your story. Lila didn't realize it, but she was doing exactly that now. Her small hands gripped the microphone, knuckles white. Her eyes closed again as she sang the next lines, I used to feel so uninspired. Each note seemed to build on the one before it, growing in depth and emotion. The plea, the softness in her voice carried more power than volume ever could. It was like she was channeling every bit of love, grief, and courage that had lived inside her tiny heart for 12 years. People in the audience leaned forward, transfixed. Some held their hands to their chests, others wiped their eyes. There was no dramatic light show, no orchestra swell. Just a girl, her voice, and a feeling that somehow touched every person listening. By the second verse, her voice began to soar, subtle but sure. And when I knew I had to face another day. She glanced briefly toward the ceiling, as if singing to someone unseen. Her grandmother, maybe. Or the part of herself that had once been too afraid to be heard. Simon's gaze softened. He'd seen hundreds of talented singers over the years, technically brilliant voices that could hit any note on command. But this was different. It wasn't performance, it was truth. He leaned forward slightly, hands clasped, completely lost in the moment. Lila's voice carried a maturity that didn't make sense for her age. There was sadness in it, yes, but also strength. It was the sound of a girl who'd felt loss, but learned to turn it into light. When she reached the chorus, you make me feel like a natural woman. The sound that came out of her was full, powerful, breathtaking. She didn't belt it like Aretha, she didn't try to imitate. Instead, she let the emotion lead her, her tone breaking and rising in places that made the lyrics real. The audience was stunned into silence again. Then, slowly, people began to rise from their seats. One after another, as if guided by instinct, until the entire theater stood quietly, reverently, watching her pour her soul into every note. Tears streamed down Lila's cheeks, but she didn't stop. Her hands shook, her chest quivered with each breath, yet she kept singing. The cracks in her voice only made it more human, more beautiful. Simon's eyes glistened. He rarely showed emotion on camera, but something about this small, trembling girl singing her truth with no music moved him beyond words. When Lila sang the final words, You make me feel like a natural woman. The last, woman, escaped her lips as a whisper. It hung in the air like a heartbeat, and then, silence. The quiet that followed wasn't empty. It was sacred. Even the cameras didn't move. The judges didn't speak. The audience, still standing, seemed suspended in time. It was as though everyone was afraid to breathe too loudly and shatter what they had just experienced. And then, like a slow sunrise, applause began. A single clap. Then another. Then hundreds until the theater erupted into thunderous applause, cheers, and tears. People were crying, openly, grown men and women wiping their faces, hugging strangers beside them. It wasn't about the song anymore. It was about feeling seen. About remembering that even small voices can carry enormous truth. Lila stood there, dazed, tears blurring the sea of faces before her. She pressed a hand over her heart, overwhelmed. Her lips trembled into a shy smile. Heidi was the first to speak. She leaned toward her microphone, her voice unsteady. That was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. I don't even know how someone so young could sing with that much soul. Sophia wiped her eyes, nodding. You made me cry, Lila. That song, it's a classic, but tonight, it wasn't Aretha's. It was yours. Howie looked down the panel, visibly emotional. Sometimes, he said softly, you don't need fireworks or a big production to move people. You just need truth. And you, young lady, have more truth in your voice than most adults I've ever met. Lila tried to smile through her tears. Thank you, she whispered, her voice small but glowing. Finally, all eyes turned to Simon. He sat still for a moment, the faintest trace of a smile on his usually guarded face. Lila, he said quietly, I've been judging this show for a long time. I've seen singers who can hit impossible notes, who can control every tone perfectly. But I don't remember the last time someone made me feel like this. The crowd murmured, hanging on his every word. What you did up there, Simon continued, was fearless. To stand here, at 12 years old, and sing one of the hardest songs in history alone and make it your own. That's something I'll never forget. He leaned forward slightly. You didn't just sing a song. You told a story. And that story touched every single person here, including me. Lila's eyes filled again. She couldn't speak. She didn't have to. Simon smiled softly, almost tenderly. And for that, he said, glancing down at the golden buzzer in front of him, I think you deserve this. He pressed the button. The moment the golden buzzer lit up, the theater exploded. The audience screamed. Gold confetti burst from the ceiling like a golden storm. Lila gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Her mother ran onto the stage, crying, laughing, wrapping her arms around her daughter as gold fell all around them. Lila's face buried into her mother's shoulder, shaking with emotion. Simon stood, clapping slowly, looking up at the falling gold with a rare softness in his eyes. That, he said, almost to himself, was magic. And as the confetti sparkled in the air, Lila finally looked up, her eyes wide, glowing, tearful, and whispered, For you, Grandma. Somewhere in the echo of applause and music and gold, it felt like Grandma heard her. For a long, breathtaking second, everything froze. The gold confetti glittered midair like slow-motion stardust, reflecting the warm stage lights as if time itself had decided to pause just for her. Lila stood in the middle of it all, her small frame trembling, her face a mixture of disbelief and awe. She could hardly breathe. The sound of the audience's cheers washed over her like a wave, loud and thunderous, but all she could hear was her own heartbeat. Her mother, tears streaking her cheeks, ran from the side of the stage and threw her arms around her daughter. "You did it, baby." She sobbed into Lila's hair. "You did it. Grandma would be so proud of you." Lila could barely speak. She pressed her face into her mother's shoulder, her tiny hands clutching at her sequin dress as gold flakes landed on their hair. Through the blur of lights and noise, she whispered hoarsely, "Mom, did I really get the golden buzzer?" Her mother laughed through her tears, pulling back to look at her. "Yes, sweetheart. You got it. You did it all on your own." Lila blinked, tears spilling freely now. She turned her gaze toward the judges' table, where Simon Cowell stood smiling. Not his usual sly grin or professional nod, but a warm, genuine smile. That seemed to say, "I believe in you." The audience rose to their feet again, clapping, cheering, whistling. The theater was alive with pure emotion. People hugged strangers next to them. Some had tears in their eyes, others held their phones high, recording a moment they knew would live on far beyond the walls of that room. Simon reached for his microphone, his voice barely audible above the roar of the crowd. "Lila," he said, gesturing for her to come closer. "Come here for a second." Lila hesitated, her little gold sneakers crunching softly against the confetti-covered floor as she approached the judges' table. The audience quieted slightly, sensing something heartfelt about to unfold. When she reached the edge of the stage, Simon leaned forward, elbows on the table, and smiled. "You know," he said, "when you first walked out here, I saw a nervous little girl who loved to sing. But when you opened your mouth when you sang without the music, I saw something much bigger." Lila's eyes widened, tears shimmering under the lights. "You have what we call soul," Simon continued softly. "That's something you can't teach. It's something that lives inside you. And you, Lila. You reminded all of us what real music is." The audience broke into applause again, this time softer, more emotional. Simon glanced upward as if gathering his thoughts. "You know, people watch this show looking for talent, but sometimes, we find something rarer truth. And tonight, that truth came from a 12-year-old girl singing an Aretha Franklin song a cappella." The camera zoomed in on Lila's face, catching every flicker of emotion, joy, disbelief, gratitude. "I didn't expect to cry tonight," Simon admitted, his voice breaking slightly. "But you made me remember why I fell in love with music in the first place." The audience gasped softly at the rawness of his confession. Simon Cowell, known for his sharp critiques and stoic demeanor, was visibly emotional. Lila blinked up at him, her voice small but steady. "Thank you, Mr. Simon. I thought about my grandma when I sang. She taught me this song. She used to say, 'If you sing from your heart, the world will listen.'" Simon's smile deepened. "Well, sweetheart," he said, "the whole world is listening now." Behind them, the other judges were still standing, clapping and wiping away tears. Heidi leaned into her microphone, her voice trembling. "Lila, you're 12 years old, and you just gave us a performance people are going to remember for the rest of their lives. You touched every person in this room." Sophia nodded beside her. "It's not about being perfect," she said. "It's about being real. And you, Lila, you were as real as it gets." Howie, ever the warm presence, smiled softly. "You know, Simon was right to stop the music," he said. "Because when you sang without it, we didn't just hear your voice, we heard your heart." The crowd erupted again. Someone shouted, "We love you, Lila," from the back of the theater. Lila laughed through her tears, overwhelmed by the love flooding the room. Simon motioned to the audience to quiet down a little. When the cheers softened, he said, "You're going straight to the live shows, Lila. But remember something, no matter how far you go, never stop singing for the people you love and for yourself. That's what makes you special." Lila nodded, her hand instinctively reaching for her necklace. She held it tightly, feeling its familiar coolness against her skin. "I won't," she whispered. "I promise." Her mom joined her again on stage, still crying, still smiling. Simon gave them both a small salute before sitting back, visibly moved. The golden confetti continued to fall, like rain, soft, endless, shimmering. The audience's cheers began to blend with the swelling theme music of the show, a triumphant melody that captured the spirit of what had just happened. Producers backstage wiped tears from their eyes. Cameramen exchanged looks, silently acknowledging they had just filmed something special, something that would go viral within hours. As Lila and her mom walked off the stage, arm in arm, she turned for one last look at the glowing "America's Got Talent" sign. The words "Golden Buzzer" flashed in gold letters on the massive screen behind her. She took one last deep breath, feeling the moment sink in. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind, as clear as if she were standing beside her, "Sing like the world disappeared, baby." And that's exactly what she had done. When they reached the hallway backstage, a few crew members and contestants waiting for their turn applauded as she passed. One older man with a guitar smiled warmly and said, "You've got the voice of an angel, kid." Lila blushed. "Thank you," she whispered. Her mom hugged her again, unable to stop smiling. "You were amazing, honey. I wish your grandma could have seen it." Lila looked down at her necklace and smiled faintly. She did. At that exact moment, a crew member handed her a towel and a bottle of water. "You just made history out there," he said kindly. "That a cappella performance. People are going to talk about it for years." Lila giggled softly, shaking her head. "I just sang," she said humbly. "That's all." Her mom knelt in front of her, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. "No, baby," she said quietly. "You believed." As they walked toward the green room, the golden confetti still clinging to her curls, Lila glanced back one more time at the stage. She could still hear the echoes of applause, still see Simon's proud smile, still feel the warmth of that moment glowing inside her. And as she stepped through the door to where her next journey would begin, she whispered softly, almost to herself, "Thank you, Grandma, for teaching me how to sing from my heart." Outside, in the theater, fans were already tweeting, clips were being replayed, hashtags were trending. But for Lila, the moment wasn't about fame, it was about love, courage, and the power of one small, honest voice to touch the world. And somewhere above the roaring crowd, perhaps in some quiet place beyond the stars, her grandmother was smiling too. The night after her Golden Buzzer performance, Lila sat cross-legged on her bed in their small apartment, still wide awake though the city outside had long gone quiet. The golden confetti she had gathered from the stage earlier lay on her nightstand, beside a folded photo of her grandmother smiling proudly from years ago. Her mother peeked through the doorway, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "Still can't sleep?" she asked gently, stepping inside. Lila shook her head, her eyes sparkling in the soft lamplight. "I keep replaying it in my head, Mom. When the gold started falling, and Simon smiled at me. It didn't feel real." Her mother chuckled softly, setting down one mug beside her. "That's because it was a dream, your dream. And tonight, you started living it." Lila looked down at her necklace, gently tracing the heart-shaped pendant between her fingers. "I just wish Grandma could have been there in the audience." Her mother's expression softened. She wrapped an arm around her daughter and whispered, "Oh, sweetheart, she was there. You could feel her, couldn't you?" Lila nodded, tears welling up again. "When the music stopped and Simon told me to sing without it, I got scared. But then I remembered what Grandma used to say, sing like the world disappeared. So I did. I sang just for her." Her mother smiled, pressing a kiss on Lila's forehead. "And you made the whole world listen, baby." The next morning, the world indeed was listening. Lila woke to the sound of her phone buzzing nonstop, on the nightstand. When she picked it up, dozens of notifications filled the screen. "Lila Grace's a cappella, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman brings Simon to tears." One 2-year-old gets double golden buzzer from Simon and Howie. Watched the moment. The audition that's restoring faith in humanity, right now. Her jaw dropped. Her audition video was already trending on YouTube, over 25 million views in just 12 hours. Her mother, reading over her shoulder, gasped. "Oh my goodness, 25 million. Lila giggled nervously. "That's like everyone in a whole country." The video was everywhere, on morning news shows, social media, fan pages, even on radio talk shows. People from all over the world were sharing clips of her singing. But it wasn't just about her voice. It was how she sang, fearlessly, soulfully, without the music, as if the world had vanished and only her heart remained. Under the video, comments poured in. "I haven't cried like this in years. That little girl reminded me what pure talent sounds like. My grandma used to sing this song. I miss her. Thank you, Lila." Simon's face said it all. "She's the reason this show still matters." Lila scrolled through the comments, her eyes filling with emotion. "Mom," she whispered, "people are saying my singing helped them remember someone they lost." Her mother smiled. "That's the power of love in music, sweetheart. It connects us in ways words can't." Later that day, AGT producers called to invite her for an interview. They sent a camera crew to film a follow-up at her home, a golden moment special for the official YouTube channel. When the crew arrived, Lila sat on the couch with her mother, holding her grandmother's photo. She wore the same gold sneakers from the audition. The interviewer smiled warmly. "Lila, how does it feel to have the whole world watching your audition?" Lila looked down, shyly, then up with a small smile. "It feels amazing. But kind of scary too. I didn't think so many people would listen. I just wanted to sing for my grandma." The interviewer nodded. "Can you tell us about her?" "She was my best friend," Lila said softly. "She used to play the piano and teach me songs. She said that when you sing with love, even angels stop to listen." She paused, then smiled. "Maybe that's why I wasn't afraid when the music stopped. I thought maybe Grandma was helping me." Her mother squeezed her hand. The interviewer smiled. "You've touched millions of hearts, Lila. What do you hope people take away from your performance?" Lila thought for a moment before replying. "I hope they remember that you don't need everything to be perfect to make something beautiful. Sometimes, just being honest is enough." The room went silent for a moment as the crew smiled behind their cameras, visibly moved. Meanwhile, across the world, stories of Lila's performance continued to spread. Music teachers showed her video to inspire students. Choirs performed acapella tributes in her honor. One small-town newspaper headline read, "The girl who made the world feel again." Even Simon Cowell tweeted, "There's something extraordinary about Lila Grace. The moment she sang without the music, it reminded me that courage and heart are what true talent is made of." Lila couldn't believe it when she saw it. "Mom. Simon tweeted about me." Her mom laughed. "You're trending, superstar." But amid the attention, Lila stayed grounded. She still practiced every day, still sang to her grandmother's picture every night before bed. One evening, she sat by her bedroom window, humming softly. Down below, the city buzzed with life. Somewhere, someone was probably watching her video for the first time. She wondered if they could feel what she felt when she sang it: hope, love, longing, courage. Her mother walked in quietly. "You know, honey, when you're on that live show stage next, things will be even bigger, brighter lights, louder crowds. Are you ready for that?" Lila looked out the window, thoughtful. "I think so. Because now I know, I'm not singing alone." Her mom tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Lila smiled softly. "I'm singing for Grandma. For everyone who's lost someone. For people who forgot what love sounds like." Her mom's eyes welled up. She hugged her daughter tightly. "Then you're ready, my brave girl." Weeks later, on the night of the live shows, the same theater filled again, this time larger, grander, overflowing with expectation. Backstage, Simon caught sight of her in the hallway. He walked over and said quietly, "Lila, before you go out there, I just want you to know something." She looked up, nervous, but smiling. Yes, Mr. Simon. He crouched a little to meet her eyes. You reminded all of us that the best performances don't come from the throat, they come from the heart. No matter what happens tonight, promise me one thing. Never lose that. Lila nodded, clutching her necklace. I promise. He smiled, patted her shoulder, and said, Go make your grandma proud again. As she walked toward the glowing stage lights once more, Lila took a deep breath. She could almost hear her grandmother's piano somewhere in the distance, faint but familiar. The world waited. Cameras rolled. The crowd fell silent. And then Lila began to sing. Her voice rose like sunlight breaking through clouds, clear, soulful, and full of truth. There was no fear this time, no hesitation. Only pure, boundless love. And in that moment, millions watched not just a young girl chasing a dream but a heart lighting up the world. Because sometimes, the most powerful performance isn't about perfection, it's about the courage to sing when the music stops. And Lila Grace had shown the world exactly how to do that.